Hello, and thank you for listening to this episode of the Billy Newman Photo Podcast. My name's Billy Newman. I'm here today with Marina Hansen. How you doing, Marina?
Hey, Billy, I'm doing well.
Thanks a lot for recording this podcast. It's February 13th, 2017. We got two photos that we're going to talk about that just went up on my website and Instagram and other places, wherever. And they're both from a trip that we did back in 2014. That was a cool trip. I had the Forerunner during that time.
Oh, yeah.
And you and I left from Eugene and we went out to Toketee Falls, which is like down south to Roseburg.
Right.
And then out whatever highway that is. Maybe it's like 62 or something. I don't know what it is. But you go out that highway, like almost to Diamond Lake. But right before the end of that, there's a number of waterfalls on either side. I can't remember what the one on the other side was. Was it like Watson Falls? That's like one of the tallest falls in Oregon.
Oh, wow.
Out there. Yeah. And then there's this other one, Toketee Falls, that we've been to a couple times.
Yeah.
And that's a really pretty waterfall. It's cool.
It is a really cool one. I think it's probably a recognizable one. I think people are familiar with that one. It's a really interesting and sort of unusual looking waterfall.
It's like a two-step waterfall. Like it has that bowl that it kind of comes into first. Then it comes out that bowl and then drops down into the basin where then it flows out the creek on the rest of the way. But it's a cool spot. It definitely is. You know, I remember the first time I saw it was back maybe in 2003 or so. I think it was in 8th grade. And one of our teachers had it in a calendar. And I was like, wow, what a cool spot. He's like, actually that's like an hour and a half from here. Did you know that? I was like, I had no idea that was around here. But it's a really cool spot. And that was back in the day before proliferation of a lot of the information about where all these really cool spots were.
Right.
All the weekend warrior types with Subarus didn't really know where all the awesome little hot springs and such were, which is also out here at that Toketee hot spring spot. It's pretty cool because there's like the really cool waterfall, a couple of other cool waterfalls pretty close to there. And then up the way from that, there's camping and a set of hot springs, natural up from the little creek that ends up flowing down the rest of the way. But it's a cool spot. I heard it's like kind of a little more closed down now. I think it got a little dirty, like we're saying. Too many people ended up showing up there all the time. Where once it was like a well-kept secret in the forest.
Yeah, just a few people out there who know about it.
Yeah, now there's a few million Instagrams about it, and everybody knows just a few years later.
Yeah.
Shoot. But it was pretty cool. I liked that trip a lot. It was fun. We went out there. It was a handful of our friends. And we left. I think we went like a little bit north of the falls and the hot spring, the rest of the camping area. We tried to get away from that. There's like a campground area nearby, but if you keep going, it moves on into Forest Service land, or it's like a Forest Service road that seems to keep going on, and there's different dispersed camping areas that you can kind of bug out to on the side of that. And that's sort of what we did, which was really cool. I like that spot.
I really like that spot too, actually. I hadn't been like quite out to that part before.
Yeah.
But it was cool. Yeah, I like how that's the kind of camping that I really prefer, is something that's dispersed and pretty natural, not really that much of a sight, actually.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. It was cool just getting to have the few trucks of us parked over just in a little spot all to ourselves.
It was cool having a group of trucks kind of set up and ready to go out to different stuff. I remember that second day, like for the first photo that we should talk about from that trip was when Robert and I took off in our trucks and we drove up and we went on the Forest Service road from the Toketee Falls area. And if you look at it on a map, it all kind of geographically makes sense. But we ended up going north of there, just on the Forest Service roads, back for like miles, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah,
like how far we went and all those little different ways we went off into. And then we connected with another road that brought us over toward Lomelo Lake, I think, like over there. And then we kept, that's like almost a different spot over there. It's like 25 miles away, closer to Bend. And then we took those roads back over and kind of came back over toward our campsite. But there was on one of those roads, there's this really big mud puddle. It was kind of like early May, I think, when we did that trip. So it was still early in the year. It was still wet out. And there's this big mud puddle on one of those roads in sort of a low spot. So I drove through it first, pulled off to the side. I had the camera out. I turned back around and then gave the signal to Robert. You were there, I think, too.
I was.
And so Robert drove his 91 extended cab Toyota pickup truck as fast as he could, or revved it up, pushed it through the big puddle there, the big mud puddle. And it's cool. I got like a number of photos. Like that's when you like flip it to the motor drive and you like tick, 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 tick. You take like 8 frames a second or something.
Yeah.
And then you kind of go through and pick out like which one looked the coolest. That's when it's most fun to use that. It's cool because you see the little animation of the truck kind of like coming through beginning, middle, Splash. And end of it. Yeah, but it was so fun. I remember that. I was like doing that stuff, but the like splash from that was 3 or 4 feet above the top of his truck in the picture.
Yeah, that was so cool. I got some pictures from that too. I think I was standing on the other side.
Oh yeah.
And those are pretty fun. I think our friends Grady and Tyler were like standing in the back of the truck. At one point.
Yeah, I remember that.
I got a few pictures of them with the mud going up their sides.
That's a rough spot to stand.
Yeah, makes good pictures though.
Yeah, that sounds so cool.
Yeah, that was really fun.
I remember that was a fun time being out over there. Yeah, it was cool. So back at camp, and then like later on, we went down to the falls. And so you drive down the way, like closer to the highway. You hike down. It's cool. Do you remember that really big like wooden, that like round wooden culvert?
Yeah,
that's like spitting water
sprays,
all over.
Yeah,
it's got these little punctures in it, and it's like blowing like a little spray of water out like 20 feet. Like,
it's like a bunch of little plants growing on it.
Yeah, what a weird little thing out there. It was built 50 years ago or something. I don't know. It was built way back to like move water from one spot to another. I guess it's used as something. It probably delivers a lot of the drinking water to Roseburg. Probably it's probably like some irrigation thing or some water reservoir thing for that. But it's cool. That kind of runs parallel for a little bit as you get onto the trail to hike maybe the 1/4 mile or so to the viewpoint for Toketee Falls. So you stay on that trail for a little while. And for the last few years, it's been in good shape. I remember the first time I was there with my dad years and years ago. The snow that year had come through, and it was just the snowdrift that came through on the side of the mountain, and it just wiped out a big section of that steep section of trail there.
Oh,
it just washed it all out. And in that section, like if you remember, since it's like a state park or whatever, or that, you know, it's a well-known and well-visited spot. They've got the walkway kind of built in where they have the steps. They've got like ladder for a ways because there's a lot of climb that you have to do. So they have like the steps that you could take and then the little platforms and stuff. All that stuff had been knocked out in a number of sections just because of this big snowdrift that first year. So you couldn't really make it all the way out there. But I think we ended up doing it anyway. You kind of skirt around it and get up. It was a little sketchy. Now is a lot easier. The thing you can get down to. And even more now, I see people that go all the way down. Have you seen pictures of that?
I see a ton of photos from people who are down at the water where the waterfall's hitting.
Yeah, it must be that they just push it and they just hike down and check it out.
I guess so. I was trying to remember, or I've seen like, especially kind of recently, actually, I've seen some shots that are like down in that area, and I was trying to remember if I'd seen anywhere that kind of looked like you could get down.
You know, it just depends on how hard you try. I guess it seemed like there was a way you could get down. But it didn't look as fun as I wanted it to. It's a really pretty shot though down there. Or it's a really cool view. And it's cool that the people are trying to do different things, but I don't think they like you doing it.
That was what I was wondering a little bit and thinking about, because I think that's true. I think they don't really like you doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't know like what repercussions there actually would be for something like that.
Doesn't seem to be a lot.
I don't think they're going to hunt down your Instagram and find you.
No, nothing like that. I just think there's.
But if you get caught when you're actually down there, that might be different.
Nobody's gonna do anything anyway. People go down there and they check out the stuff, and it's a state park and stuff. And I figure that a lot of the things work that way. Where it's like they built the walkway to here.
They put a sign up.
If you go somewhere else, it's harder to get there. You can probably get down. I see people do it enough that it seems like it happens, but it didn't seem like a good trail was ever put in there.
Yeah, not that I saw.
Yeah,
we should check it out next time we're there, though.
Ooh, yeah, I want to go back and check it out. But I remember, for the second photo, it was that spot up there of Toketee Falls, taking a picture of that fall, like how that has that feature where it comes down in the bowl and then out, like we were talking about earlier. It was cool to photograph, and the way that the spot, like that octagon is, where the bench is.
Yeah.
Sit up there. I remember we took a group photo up there too.
We did.
Yeah, that's what Layla went on that trip.
Right, she did. Robert's dog. She was really
funny.
good. Surprisingly.
I remember that. Yeah. Little dumb. Yeah, it was cool though. But I remember just the way that we lined it up. I think maybe I had the tripod. I'm not really sure. I think there's like a bit of a wash in the photo. So I think it was held still for a second. So I think I set the tripod up for the photo, and I probably let the shutter open for about a quarter second or something like that. Maybe even a second or something. So I must have racked up the f-stop pretty high. But I guess that's true because you can still see the tree in the foreground is still in focus while the waterfall in the back is focused also. But it's cool. I like that photo a lot. Yeah. It was cool. I like the Ektar too. That was shot on film on the N80.
I was gonna ask.
And that was early on when I was getting into Ektar, and I think that was one of the first times I was like, "Oh wow, this like comes out so much better. Like the blues are so much darker and more real, just in the way they come out. The contrast seems just way more vibrant. The greens seem more realistic. So it was cool. I remember that was a fun photo. I liked that one, and it was cool too. I liked working with the N80 so much on that trip.
Yeah,
and working with all the film stuff. I think that was the beginning of the year in like 2014 when I had that set up. That was probably one of the most creative, or just one of the periods where I took like the most photos that I think I still like the most. Like a lot of these pictures I'm looking up here on the board of were probably taken on the N80 and some Ektar.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It was cool.
It's a good combo.
Yeah, I want to try it again. Let's steal your camera back.
You should.
I want to try and take some pictures.
We should get some more rolls of Ektar.
Oh yeah, we should. I heard that it might get cheaper again.
Oh really?
Yeah, it might
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool.
I guess Fuji's expensive enough that Ektar being less expensive is probably just coming down to still pretty big.
Yeah, Fuji's kind of expensive, but it's like what the cheapest one now.
Right, yeah.
And I think like Portra and Ektar were kind of creeping closer and closer up to the $10-11 range each time you bought a roll, which is probably too much for me most of the time.
That's all right. If you need a few rolls, it really adds up, I feel like.
It really does. You can buy the 5-packs, which is you save kind of like one roll's worth in the cost that you buy the 5-pack for. It's okay, but it's still like $50 or more than that. And then I heard like a lot of the photographers that were really deep into film, like I guess really I'm only hobbyist of it, but the older guys that were really into it, they bought like a bunch 10 years ago, let's say, and they put it in like a freezer. So it's just been, so they just had this big stash of film in a freezer so it wouldn't go expire or whatever it is.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it would last longer than its expiration date so they could shoot with it later. I got it in my film.
Stock up on that.
I got to stock up on it. So and I guess a lot of them did go out of business. So when we started and after 2010, it's probably after most of the film manufacturers stopped producing film stock, I bet.
Man.
But there probably hadn't been that many for a long time. I'm sure Kodak and Fuji probably monopolized it for years and years. It was cool. They make good stuff. It's cool. We got to buy some more too.
Yeah.
I think I'm out. Got it. Well, we could go up to Dotson's and try it out, but they always have the top dollar stuff.
They do. I think if you buy it in the store, they have to.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way they make their money.
Yeah, it's really true. We'll get a good bulk deal.
Yeah.
And then we should try and figure out some little thing. I want to try and do some cool film project with you.
I'd love to do some cool specific projects with some of those. I think that'd be fun. Especially like as we come into these next few weeks. The weather's starting to be a little bit cooler. And by cooler I mean warmer.
By cooler I mean way better.
Which is way more fun.
It was much nicer for the last few days. So I'm really pumped for that. We got to take advantage of this part of February. It's cool when this swing of February comes in and it starts to feel just a little bit more like spring. Even if not spring, just usable.
Yeah.
It's just a usable day.
It felt really nice. I went on a big walk today because it was so nice. Cool. And I like the feel of it as you like start getting closer to spring starting up.
I like it too.
Or you can kind of like feel that difference. That it is changing into a new season.
The days definitely seem just a little longer. Yeah. And I like when you can feel it too. Yeah. I like that time when you can be in a t-shirt again and you're like, hey.
Yeah.
I'm back in a t-shirt. This is great. Summertime. It's right around the corner. I think that 43 days into the new year. Silly. A few more days though. I guess Punxsutawney Phil said there's 6 more weeks of winter. Shoot.
6 whole weeks.
I don't know. Or whatever. 6 more. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure if it even changes. I don't think they actually would change the date of the season change.
Probably not.
Yeah. Well, Punxsutawney Phil. not a good mark whether it's going to be crazy weather or not. Did you see the thing in California, like of the Oroville Dam, the big dam, like the one in like the Superman movie? Do you know from way back?
Yeah.
Yeah, that dam right now is like overflowing.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
hadn't heard that.
there's these, I guess, helicopter shots of it or drone video or something of it, and you see the dam, and you just see like like this,
Oh,
like everything going over
man.
it. Yeah, like the spillways overflowed, and they had to like evacuate 180,000 people.
Oh, man. That's crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna, if the engineering is gonna get really serious and it's actually going to flood, or if it's just filling over and it must just be from all the rain that's accumulated in the hills
I guess
that's now
so.
filled up the reservoir. Yeah, but nuts that there's so much water now. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I didn't realize it was at a point where it'd be like this critical. But I guess that part of California's been getting way more rain than what it seasonably does. Like that picture that we saw a few weeks ago with how green it was and how much fresh water was washing out into the
Right.
estuaries from the rivers. It was really interesting to see that now in 2017 versus 2014 when we had those probably a few years of drought. I remember in
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
2013 too, like when we went camping in the Trinity Alps, even in
Oh,
the early
mm-hmm.
spring, there was no snowpack. So it was definitely like a
Much
low
drier.
yield winter that year. Yeah, much drier. So it's cool. I don't know. It's good for California that they got so much water, but I
Yeah, not short on water
hope
anymore.
everybody's okay
Yeah,
with the dam and
that's a
engineering
bummer.
part
They
of
had
it.
to evacuate tons of people.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a strange thing how California's engineering of securing and holding onto their water is. It seems like they
Hmm.
have to like, yeah, they have like way too little or way too much. Right?
Yeah,
It's like it's crazy how fast they can swing either way. But it's not